Welcome, everybody. Welcome to episode 9 of Lost Summer. This week we have the honor of having Sarah Strum from Specialized 10-Speed Hero with us. Sarah just completed this crazy 10-day bike packing trek of the Colorado Trail, so we're gonna talk to her a bunch about that. Just a reminder, this is a part of a fundraiser for Marin County Bicycle Coalition and for COVID relief efforts in Marin County. 25% of what we raise through giving away a Specialized Diverge Pro Carbon bicycle is going to Canal Alliance and West Marin Senior Services. So please go to marinbike.org/lost summer, enter the giveaway for the bike and for other prizes from Easton, Velocio, and Ornat. And without further ado, I'll let Kaiser take it from there.
Well, thank you, Caroline. I don't know what else I can say to introduce her after you gave that glowing report. Just mentioning Sarah's name, if you follow cycling at all in the last couple of years, she's so hot right now. She's been crushing in so many disciplines, criteriums, road races, endurance mountain bike events, cyclocross national single speed, which is a thing, if you can, masochist, if there's any way we can possibly make things more difficult, we're going to do it. And she's of that ilk. I have been taking a bit of a deep dive in all things Sarah Strum for the last week. And it's kind of sickening because everyone I talk to is, oh my God, Sarah's so rad. Oh, I love her. It's never ending. So I'm going to introduce her and let her speak for herself. Sarah Strum, welcome to Lost Summer Cycling Celebrity Series. It's great to have you.
Oh, you guys are too kind. I needed this little pep talk earlier this week when I was not feeling great. Yeah, I'm really just stoked to kind of be around humans right now and talk to you guys. Yeah, this is as close as it gets, right?
So where do we find you today? Are you in your home in Durango?
Yes, I am it is a little smoky here. We were just talking about the smoke situation, not as bad as it is in California, but yeah, here in sunny, hot Durango, Colorado. And I just, as Caroline was mentioning, just finished my trek along this hiking trail called the Colorado Trail, where I hiked a lot in my cross-country bike shoes.
Yes, but you were in jorts. So let's just clarify.
Yeah.
But you were wearing jorts.
They are athletic jorts.
I have a pair.
I know you do. Yes, I saw. I was like, okay, I'm in good company. I'm actually wearing them now. They're nice and light. But yes, I was like, oh, that's perfect. I'll wear those. But yeah, I wore the same t-shirt for 10 days, which I've never done before, and I'll never do again. It was disgusting. I'm going to have to throw it away.
Already we're getting to the deep dive. So tell us about the ride you just did. What was the inspiration and what are the details?
Yeah,
tell us more about it.
Well, like many who are athletes and are driven by goals and racing or achievements or whatever, it's been a little weird this year, and you kind of have to redefine some of those things for yourself, right? And so I've lived in Durango now for 13 years, and here in Durango is either the start or the end, depending on which way you do it, of the Colorado Trail, 5 minutes from my house. And so I've always kind of wanted to do this ride from Denver to Durango. And because there's no racing, I was like, great, I have time. I should probably do this. And it's like a 550-mile mostly single track. There's a couple of go-arounds on the road because of wilderness. You can't ride your mountain bike in wilderness. And it took us 10 days. I believe the women's record on it, if you're one of those, I hesitate to say crazy people, but honestly, after doing the ride, I'm like, yeah, they're crazy people who race it, because they do this without sleeping. I think the women's record is like 6 days, and then the men's record just got broken for like 3 days, which is crazy because it took us 10 days.
Plus miles, right?
Yeah, 550 miles and 72,000 feet of climbing. And when I say climbing, don't picture like riding on your bike climbing, like hiking like this with your bike. Like pushing, I have like no feeling in my neck, and I've had like weird like referred like nerve stuff from pushing my bicycle on a hiking trail.
Wow. So when you say
yeah.
crazy, you basically just mean crazier than you, really, when it comes down
Yeah,
to it.
I'm starting to, I know my friend, luckily, this is why you have a little sister. She's like, well, you're the crazy person for even doing this. She just points out anytime that I'm being insane. But yeah, okay, now that I've like told you all the like crazy parts, it's so beautiful. It was truly a privilege to get to go and ride for 10 days and not look at my phone and not think about anything other than like getting up, where's the water sources, what's the plan for the day, how much feet of climbing do we have for the day. You know, it's just kind of nice to like reset, and then you just get to camp at night and try to pretend that you're not super stinky. And it was great.
That's
I did
that's
it with a
fantastic.
couple friends they're also bike racers, which in retrospect maybe was a mistake because they went really fast on some sections that I was like, but it's so pretty, let's take a picture.
Were you on pure mountain bikes? Were you on hardtails, full suspension? How did you pack up?
I thought it was out. I was going to show you. I guess my boyfriend put it back in the garage. What a nice guy. I opted for a full suspension, which that was maybe one of the best decisions I've made because everyone was like, just do it on a hardtail, you'll be fine. I on it, like people do it on hardtails all the time and rigid bikes, and honestly, they must be a million times tougher than I am because that it's pretty like rocky terrain. I was really, really stoked to have dual suspension. My wrists would have fallen off of my body, I'm convinced, if I didn't have suspension. There's no way. You couldn't pay me enough to do that without suspension.
Well, let's talk. Let's keep going on this vein a little bit to segue into discussing Leadville. I've
Oh
talked with a
boy.
number of people. I was supposed to be there at one point, and I was making the debate between hardtail and full suspension, and I had friends who did it on
Hmm.
both, and they're like, I know you did it on a hardtail. You did it on the new hardtail
Hmm.
last year, correct? And
Yeah.
which is hard to pass up when it's such an amazingly sexy bike and so light and so fast. And also, you're at the pointy end of the event as opposed to just trying to get the hardware at the end of the day. But yeah,
Yeah.
when you're making that choice between full suspension and hardtail, full suspension's fast. It's comfy,
They're
and
crazy fast. It's
yeah.
been a minute since I've had like a super racy like cross country bike. Like over the years I've just kind of gravitated more towards fancy cross bikes and gravel bikes, and then having a super fancy like trail bike, enduro bike for training. And then over the last season or two, I've gotten a couple of these cross country whips, and boy, they're crazy light. I think that my hardtail is lighter or just as light as my gravel bike. Like it was kind of funny to like do the Colorado Trail on the Epic, the new like specialized Epic that just came out, because it had like the nicest everything on it, which was kind of like I did get to do a ride without it packed down with all of my 30 pounds of bags, but it was hilarious to like take this like World Cup racing machine and just strap a bunch of like, here's my tent, here's my gloves, here's all my water and like everything to it. So I
Were
felt
there
it.
were there any
Yeah.
toe straps and duct tape applied to the bike as well? Because that's the
I
ultimate
did have
insult.
some duct tape on there, and I had some like of that like neoprene wrap because I was a little worried that like through all of my aggressive riding that hi Norman, um sorry, Guess Norman was locked outside. Whoops, my dog. Yeah, I was a little worried that the bags were gonna like carve through all of the carbon, but Specialized, if you're listening, they didn't.
I love that you're concerned about this. You know, in reading your biography, not your biography, but your Wikipedia and stuff like that. You went to Fort Lewis College, and
Yeah.
I don't know if your college days were at all like mine, but the dream of having a bike like what you have, probably a garage full of now. I've seen you on your carbon fiber Diverge and Epics and your cyclocross bikes. And you got an education. You were ready for actual life, but somehow you ended up a pro cyclist. Clearly very driven and very talented, but you sound like you really appreciate where you've come to and where your talents have brought you.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I came to Fort Lewis to play soccer when I was 18, and then I just kind of, as 18-year-olds do, I got really burned out on playing soccer, and I was like, I'm going to join the triathlon team because I used to run and swim in high school also, slowly. Very slowly. Can't emphasize that enough. Very slow swimmer. And yeah, so I did our little like local triathlon, and I was like, man, I still really hate running and swimming. And
like, I feel like I did the same thing. Like my senior
yeah,
high school, like, or college, I played soccer senior year of college. I was like, I'm gonna join triathlon. Like, why
yeah.
is triathlon this like natural progression instead of? And then we realized we
I
hate
wonder.
bikes.
Yeah, I think triathlon, at least I was actually trying to think about that, because we're not alone. There's a lot of women. I don't know why I'm holding this lime, but I'm holding a lime. I think a lot of women, either through injury or, you know, boredom of their ball sport or whatever they're doing, I think triathlon seems appealing if you are able to just run and swim, like those two things. If you're like, okay, I know I can do those things. And then biking is a little more intimidating because it's like a piece of equipment, but you're like, but I'm kind of covered by like running and swimming because I know I can at least get through those things. At least that's how it was for me.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I think I'm just going to try and join the bike team. And then, you know, 18-year-old me called the cycling team office number from my flip phone. And I was like, hey, I'd like to be on the team. What do you have for scholarships? Literally never having raced before. And they're like, well, come on the team, but we'll see about the scholarships. And I just was that person who would like walk over speed bumps because I was like too freaked out to take my hands off the bars to get my water, and like, you know, that story.
I love this.
And then I just stuck with it.
This is fantastic because Caroline and I have talked to a couple other of our guests recently about how many new cyclists are coming into the sport, or people who are picking the bike back up for the first time. And a lot of folks are getting out on the trails right now. And, you know, we come from sort of rarefied air and rarefied company. We hang out with the people with the cool caps and all the right accessories, and we got it going on. And I think the sport is very intimidating for people. And you, out of your youth, hubris, and strength, you showed up and said, hey, I want to do this. And I'm sure the guys, you know, a few of them were like, who is this noob? And you persisted.
Oh, totally.
What would you recommend to people who are intimidated by groups of lycra clad?
Yeah, man, that's so, it's so frustrating because I try really hard, and Caroline and I have talked about this a ton when we're racing together and against each other and riding together, but like it's a goal of mine and hers to kind of not be that, like to try really hard actively to be that like approachable athlete, because I think, this is my opinion, but if you can find someone within that group that is kind, can commiserate, is at the same level as you, it's really hard to be like the only one who's new and like the only one in this sea of like professional athletes, or, you know, what you might see as like super experienced. But if you have kind of someone who's like willing to like reach out and be kind and ride with you and explain things and normalize everything. And I think that helps a lot. And my advice to people who are just getting into it is that, like, I remember being really intimidated by all the like language, like all of the different components and parts of a bicycle. And like, I remember sitting in the like team vans going to races and just being like both impressed and also kind of grossed out that these guys could talk for like 9 hours about bikes. Like, what? You mean it matters the pattern that your tire tread is in and your tire pressure? Like, I was the person who would just like, I still kind of am this person, but I would like pump my tires up like once in the season and that would be good. But like, no, I guess if I had to tell people like who are just starting, like that stuff just comes with time, and like just focus on like truly just enjoying the process, like the shitty parts and the good parts. Like, you're gonna fall, you're gonna feel bad, but like you're also gonna like have these like little, I think the thing that kept me in it was that every now and then I would have these moments where I'm like, oh my God, I did my first mountain bike ride that I didn't crash. Like, I remember, I distinctly remember that ride where I was like, I completed a bicycle ride without falling down off of my bicycle. And like, it was just like little things like that keep you going.
My first like big ride, and I say this in quotes, was from Petaluma to Point Reyes Station and back. So it was 40 miles round trip. And
Damn.
I thought it was like, that was my first like big ride. I was like on a,
yeah.
on my, like Navara, you know, like $600 bike. My parents were like, you spent $600 on a road bike? Like, you're insane. I can't believe you just did that while you're in college. And I was so proud of myself. I was like, this is such a huge accomplishment. And now, you know, that's like a standard ride, but it's like, it's so incremental. Like, things like, now I look at that and I'm still like proud of that moment because there's like this huge turning point.
Totally.
But like, people will look at like you or I or people that are, you know, more competitive in the sport and be like, oh, they were never there. Like, recognizing that we all went through like those steps. Like, I remember being in LA one time and like just learned to ride clipless pedals and forgot to unclip, crashed out like a super busy, you know, 4-way intersection. And all the people in the car start cheering.
Right.
It was so embarrassing, but like, that's, we all do it.
It's
like, we all go through that.
Yes. So my little sister, who's 28 now, she has like 2 years ago, she learned how to ride a bicycle, like pedal, brake, turn, like the basics, like the things that we teach like the little Strider kids. Like, she had to learn how to ride a bicycle as an adult in Durango, which has to be like the hardest thing ever. Because a little backstory, my dad was a big road biker when we were growing up, so naturally we wanted nothing to do with cycling at all. Dad does it, cool amount. Until I moved away, and then my sister Hannah was still like not into it, and teaching her like how to ride a bike and like going through all the things, I was just like remembering like all of those like painful but awesome moments. There's my dog. Pause. Norman.
He's happy. No worries. This is lovely.
Is it?
It really is. We're happy
Does
to be,
anyone
we're
want a
happy to be in
dog?
your home. No, but we're at home with Sarah Strum. That's a pretty fun thing to be.
Hi. Oh, it's Christopher Blevins.
Oh, I got Dylan now too.
I'm on a call. Let me just grab Norman really quick. Norman.
So for anybody that doesn't follow Sarah on
the
Instagram,
Marin bike folks.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah. Oh my God, Norman. Dang it, I want to come say hi.
Yeah,
Hi. Are you guys
Blevins,
here for a
Blevins is
minute?
probably at home watching the interview right now.
Here,
saying,
wait, I have to
Sarah.
show the people
looks like she's all
what they
alone in
wanna
her backyard.
see. Hold on. Let's take a little field trip.
Okay.
Say hi, Chris.
Christopher Blevins,
oh, hi, Chris Robbins.
legend,
They say hey.
racer.
He's here. He's
we're
back
gonna have
in
to have
his
him sign a
hometown.
release later, Sarah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Oh, I just had to do that. We're gonna have to. You owe us a release now, Chris. No, I'm just kidding.
Actually, you should just have him sit down with us in a
I
future
know.
interview.
Does Chris want to?
Yeah. Hey, there you go. He's a great person to talk to. Chris is doing some really cool stuff. Like, really cool stuff. Much cooler than me.
I got to tell you, we're talking about your father being an old roadie, and it's not cool because dad did it and stuff like that. I do have to tell you, I'm so relieved to see you two commiserating with how geeky you felt doing it and how unwelcome it seemed, because old school roadies not welcoming at all. Like, who are you?
Yeah.
Back of the group. I don't want to see you again until we're at the donut shop. And that you persevered and you found your community. And I just want to verbally underline for anyone watching who's intimidated by these groups, there's somebody in the group that you can connect with.
Yeah.
And honestly, it still happens at any level. I mean, I've been on group rides where
absolutely roadies are some of the worst people ever.
It's taught me how to take a wheel from somebody that's 6'2" and 200 pounds, because they won't let me into the pace line because as like a 5'2" girl, you don't belong there.
Right.
So, and it sucks to be like, I have to earn that respect, but it's like, it's taught me to really like toughen up. And I don't know how to say this in a way that's like the right way to say it, but I've like learned that I'm just going to pick the biggest guy that I'm like in the lineup, and I'm going to take his wheel. Like, I'm going to fight him for that. And he's going to eventually give it to me because I'm literally going to curb him if he's not, because otherwise he's going to do it to me.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
that's pretty extreme.
Yeah. See, and I find her wheel and I just stay on hers.
I'll let you.
No, but I love to hear that everybody's been through it. Everybody's been a total noob. Persevere.
Yeah. Oh man,
and even champions and pros have been through the same thing, and yet you're there.
Everyone starts somewhere, and like, I guess that's what I was getting at with my story about my sister, is just like remembering and like explaining to her, like, I remember feeling like this. Like, I remember the feeling of like rolling my mountain bike tire onto dirt for the first time ever, and like thinking like, wow, this is crazy. Like, it will absorb the rock.
I'm mountain biking.
Yeah, totally. And then feeling like you totally don't belong, like even as like a wannabe pro in the pro peloton, at like some road races, like I remember feeling like, wow, I really don't belong here, and these ladies are super scary and kind of, some of them are pretty mean, but then there's always someone who isn't mean and who isn't that scary, who is like pretty cool and like willing to like take you under their wing.
Yeah, I think having those like mentors or having those people,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, when I moved back down to California after grad school, Ali Tetrick was the one that like,
yeah,
she took me under her wing and just kind of allowed me to like go out on training rides with her and brought me to the group rides. And I think it totally changed it for me because I had this person, this like role model, even though she's, we're basically the same age, that was just like, hey, yeah, like you're kind of new and you're on a cross bike, but hey, come to do all these road things with me, and like
totally.
I'll and show you how to do it. And like, that's a little extreme example, but there's totally people that are always welcoming. And
Meredith Miller was my person.
Yeah, exactly.
She still is. And now I get to race
every one
her.
of these names being mentioned are just gems. We're very fortunate in our cycling community to have these people. I do want to segue though, because we only have so much time, and I want to talk to somebody that I understand is very important to you, your advocacy for mental health awareness. And I want to know if you might discuss with us how you came to be interested and advocate for that.
Totally. Well, let me just clarify. I like to do this every time, but I am not a mental health professional. I just encourage people and share my story, which is that I work with a therapist and have for at least the last decade and a half.
And when you say you work with a therapist, are you in therapy or do you work with therapists?
I mean, I guess I don't know what the correct like lingo is, but some people call them counselors. I don't see a psychiatrist, so I don't see someone who like prescribes like medication. I work with someone who like gives you counsel on your
Mhm.
life. Although I have, I have taken anti-anxiety medication, antidepressants. I've gone down that road, and I've done that with the help of that's why I say therapist. Just someone who is a professional in mental health, however that plays out for you in your life. I just think that it's something that deserves to be talked about and normalized. Like, it's just something that I consider a part of, like, I see a therapist more than I see my primary care doctor, because I'm generally pretty healthy, but it's a part of that, like, everyday self-care that I think a lot of the times, especially with men, for some reason, kind of goes by the wayside. And I know that it's kind of a hot topic, like, oh, do I see a sports psychologist or a sports therapist, or just an, average regular person? And that's just kind of like up to you and your own little path there. I know I've tried both, and I personally I work better with someone who isn't specific to sport. I just kind of like the holistic, like, I have just the same issues that most people have, especially right now. Everyone's anxiety is super cranked up. Everyone is feeling the pressure, maybe some of the depression sneaking in, anxiety, all of that. And I think it's a really important time to give your brain some love, and talk to someone who's a neutral. That's a really special relationship in your life, because you don't have that with anything else. Everyone else has a bias, and talking to someone who's a professional and a neutral is a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, it's nice that sorry, I'm a bit older, but at your young age you realized that it was beneficial to you and that you found that. Was there
Yeah.
somebody who saw that in you? Is it genetic? Because like I've been in
Hmm.
treatment for 25 years and it's
Yeah.
genetic. My whole family has been depressed, and I've been medicated
Yeah.
now for about 15 years. And
Yeah.
yeah, so my family recognized it.
Yeah. See, that's so interesting. I feel like that's even like maybe a newer thing. Like, there's probably a lot of people that do have that genetically, and would have no idea. My family, I definitely, we have the anxiety pretty heavy.
Mm.
um but it is also something that, like, I know when my parents got a divorce when I was in high school, like, we got to go see counselors. And then when I was in college, I got super super depressed, and I remember seeking that out. Most college campuses will have that as a resource. I'm not sure what they're doing now with COVID, but I know that they have probably figured out some way of
Yeah,
having.
there's always like phone numbers and stuff. I remember in college
Yeah.
to call. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and more than just, like, I mean, there is always the suicide hotline is also there. Yeah, like, you don't always have to be like suicidal. They're a great resource. But there's also like BetterHelp, which I know that they were giving some discounts, which is online. So, like, you can Skype with a therapist, and you can go through the whole screening thing. And I have a lot of friends that have had amazing success with BetterHelp, and that's kind of a cool resource with technology these days. I was lucky enough to find someone in person that I can work with, which has been awesome, and I've worked with the same woman for like 6 years now. So
If I can interject for a second, for those who are watching right now and saying, how did this conversation turn to discussion of mental health? Of late in cycling, in other endurance sports, but particularly in cycling, there's been some very high profile stories, some tragic, about athletes who
yeah.
suffer depression. And it's very poignant that we're discussing it right now, because endurance athletes, a lot of people I think find endurance sports because we get out there alone. There's therapy in the adrenal endorphin release that one experiences when doing repetitive motions, such as pedaling a bike or running, 10K, whatever. And so it is germane to conversation when we talk to endurance athletes, such as those three of us gathered here. So in case you think it's coming out of left field, who are you guys to proselytize about mental health? You know, if you ride in a group, I guarantee you there's a couple of you who are suffering with some anxiety.
Well,
or depression.
also, I would just call that out too. Like, anyone has the right to talk about ways that they're trying to stay healthy.
Yeah, and especially right now. I mean, I think, you know, without being able to constantly be with our community, and we were talking about like the lack of racing and whatever, like there's all these extra anxieties that are being pushed on the situation, and it shouldn't be stigmatized. Like, this should be a normal conversation. Like, we're all dealing with our own stuff. Like, there's nothing wrong with, or that, yeah, there's nothing that needs, you know, it's normal for everybody, no matter what.
Oh, for sure. And what I tell like the girls that I coach and work with, my little high school crew who are awesome, but it's like, just because like you feel like your stress isn't maybe as bad as someone else's doesn't mean that it doesn't matter. Stress is stress, anxiety is anxiety. And I personally believe that everyone has the right to like have proper mental health care.
And I think that's so huge, is you can't look at your situation, comparing it to somebody else, and be like, well, I should just be thankful of this. If you're dealing with something, like, deal with it.
And totally. I'm so guilty of that. Like, even like the heart, like truly I thought about, I had 500 and whatever miles to think about this, but I'm like, who am I to like have these, you know, issues? Like, look at me right now. I'm like out here on the trail enjoying this beautiful whatever. And like, I had like some pretty like heavy, anxious moments out there, unrelated to the Colorado Trail, but it was kind of like in this weird like juxtaposition with this like amazing privilege that I was having, which is like taking a break and getting to ride my bike all day. And so I was definitely like juggling those two emotions, those two sides. And like, you kind of have to like teach yourself and remind yourself, like, no, actually, like, stress is stress. Like, I need to be healthy to be able to be a positive person in society and lead others and do the right thing and do good work and all of that.
It sounds like you're doing an amazing job at it, just by leading by example.
Worth every penny.
Worth every penny, but also by coaching young women who clearly are going to look up to you, and by being so open and normalizing about it, that's a very healthy thing. So, as a father of a 19-year-old daughter, I appreciate what you're doing. Yes, I do.
I like to also roll up.
Cycling's not cool because Dad does it. She loved bikes until she realized how uncool I was. Yes.
We never hit the like loving bikes phase when we were growing up. For some reason, it wasn't until I was away from home that kicked in. But yeah, I always like to, I just had this conversation with a sponsor too, just same thing, like mentorship, but like just normalizing everything. Like, there was a practice where I was like, hey girls, real hormonal, I've had like a really stressful week of making a big life decision and I'm pretty grouchy. I'm just gonna chill in the back, you do your thing, and we're gonna have a great time. But I'm just gonna preface this whole day with like, if that energy you're picking up on, these are the reasons why. It has nothing to do with you. And then it kind of like set the like precedent of like, we are all human beings and we're allowed to have an off day, especially as like coaches, as teachers, as leaders, as mentors, as athletes, as students. You know, we can't just always show up perfect.
No. And I think that's really good. It's recognizing there's going to be ebbs and flows of everything, right? And you know, as a community, and like, all you can do is be supportive of each other and recognize that it's okay to go through this stuff.
Yep, totally. And right now, especially with everything ebbing and flowing a lot, you just you have to keep forging forward and keep that momentum rolling forward, because you know, everything that's happening is it's going to run its course. It is what it is. And I'm not saying be complacent with everything, but find your path within that. And you just have to kind of like keep pushing forward and doing the things to improve the situation that you can control.
I think with that I think is a really good part to end this with is, keep moving forward. Like, things are always going to be better. Reach out to people if you need to. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. This has been
You
wonderful.
guys are awesome.
I honestly, I could go on for a 7-part series for the next.
Oh
next
man, me
week.
too. I'm like, we just got warmed
I
up.
know, I'm with you.
My line.
You have a line.
I don't know. I think we were drinking some beers, so.
Well, Sarah, Caroline, I'm going to remind our viewers once again, this is fundraising for the Marin County Bicycle Coalition. marinbike.org/Lost Summer is our Lost Summer Cycling Celebrity Series. Please go to the page, donate if you're able, participate in the giveaway. As mentioned by Caroline earlier, Mike's Bikes has graciously offered a grand prize for a $10 entry only. You can win a Specialized Pro Carbon 2021 version. It's got Eagle Access on it. It's got the SWAT box down below. It's got 700C wheels with 47 mil tires. It's amazing. I know, Sarah, it's the same bike you ride these days, isn't it?
I'm like, yeah, that is my bike.
Yeah, it's the same red.
It's a great bike.
It's a fantastic bike. I would like to get one myself, but you can't buy them. They're sold out across the country. So there's your chance, $10 to enter. There's also,
Can
you are not
dad
eligible.
enter?
Yes. Your father can contribute for $10. He has a chance to win. But also in there are prizes from Easton. There's a set of wheels from Easton. There's a cockpit with stem and handlebars. Or Not Bikes is also contributing. We have a lot of other sponsors. Please, again, contribute. If you ride bicycles in Marin County, you benefit from the efforts of the advocates at Marin County Bicycle Coalition. So please participate. All these videos are going up on YouTube. You're watching on Facebook Live right now. Tell your friends about us. This is a particularly good one, I think, for Sarah being so open. And just because of her smile. Like, if that doesn't help your heart, you're the Grinch.
What did he say? Sorry, I know we're supposed to sign off, but what did you say the other day? Oh, my smile and Sarah Strum's smile were the most non-aerodynamic.
Oh my God.
We're like basking whales.
Norman keeps going.
Anyway, too much love going on here. Come see us again next week.
So
Sarah, please join us again soon, would you?
That sounds great. I'm in.
All right. Thank you, friends.
So is Norman.
Goodbye.
Bye.